Hello, I'm Maginpanic and I'm glad you came by to watch this little MaoMao animation and actually how I did it with my voiceover over the time-lapse that I recorded a while ago. So let's just jump straight into it. Note that the work file is available on my Patreon if you want to have it and deep dive into it, whatever. Let's go. As you can see, I created a palette named MaoMao and I had like couple colors named accordingly to those colors, so everything will be clean. That's very important when I'm creating everything, and I'm always advise everyone to do it. So after I had those colors, I wanted to check how I'm gonna divide this character, and yet I wanted to have the idle animation only. So I have the lower legs, upper legs together, torso, head, left and right hand, and the sword. And then I was thinking if it's okay to have maybe one layer. And at the very end, I decided that I will have the sword and the fist actually on one layer and the other rest of the arm on the separate layer. And obviously there's a cape at the back of the character, which we're gonna animate as well. So, speaking of special effects, I want this little glint that will go through the entire blade. Alright. And then obviously we're gonna have the cape animated as a special effects, and I decided to have these like epic shots, so adding rain and a little splashes on the character would be actually a good idea. So I started creating layers and I obviously named them accordingly to what I just mentioned about dividing the entire character into parts. So after that I made a little hierarchy, so everything started with torso. Obviously under the torso we have a head and eyes connected, and then we have like arms and sword, everything in a nice little hierarchy. That's not very complicated, but everything have to be there for a reason. Okay, once I had that, it's time to redraw this character. It's to be honest, a little boring process of just redrawing it. The one cool thing to have, as I'm always doing, is to animate blink of the eye. So that's why I divided eyes from the head. But other than that, I'm just redrawing it using the colors that I had. Firstly, drawing it in green because it's visible, and then obviously recoloring it into the black color. Once I have everything, I can start animating it. So I set up the pivots and pretty much started keyframing it at the very beginning, end, and in the middle to have a little nice bouncy idle animation. Not very complicated. I used eases to have it, and as you can see here I added blink of an eye, and after I did this I added another peg over the eyes, over the head, to have this little bounce of the head when the eyes are blinking, which always adds a lot to the animation, and I always love to do those. For the arms there is just a tiny little bit of rotation, no up and down movement other than from torso, from the hierarchy, just the arms. This is pretty much it. Because the legs are divided and are not connected to the torso, but to the main peg at the top, we are actually able to move them independently and just match the motion of the torso as well. And there we go, this is it, just a little idle animation, everything moves smoothly and we can start doing special effects. So I added two layers. On the first one I'm gonna just slide this little light through the blade, and then we're gonna key this with the color of the blade, as you can see, yellow color of the blade, so it's visible only there. and it's not visible on the black color, so this is it. On the next layer I added a little light that was going to the tip of the sword and a little clockwise motion for this little star at the very end of the cycle, which was pretty nice. A little adjustments at the very end to make it a little more smooth, and there we go. There's a light going through the blade and we have this little glint at the end. Obviously I had the cape not visible, but I made it just the cape right now so I can see it. I decided to have like 6 layers and that's it. 6 layers on force, I believe, or 5 on force. And I started sketching over it. At the very beginning I did 1 dot for this corner of the cape, and I followed that dot to make a little wave animation with just one part of this cape, and then I will animate obviously the other part, just a little wave. That if you want a tutorial for this I can make one, but I believe it's just self-explanatory. Like, it's just moving from one frame to another, like you would push a little ball on the bottom of it, and this is pretty much it. Yep. And there we go. I just added line art and color. I added this back part of it, and there we go. Pretty easy so far, I guess. So now it's time for the rain. Rain is the missing part. So I decided to have couple parts of the rain, but before that obviously we need a background, right? It's a stormy weather. So a couple parts of the rain. So obviously there will be something in the front of us that will be blurred. It will not be very visible, but just to make the motion of it, right? It's blurred and so on and so forth. So the second part is those little ripples, little droplets colliding with the body of MaoMao on like 20 frames, frame by frame cycle, and I just kept adding them one by one over and over, just like 3, 4, 5 frames of a little splash, just a tiny couple lines, nothing too complicated. I'm leaning towards here to get the quantity over quality. To be honest, we just need a little feeling of a lot of droplets coming to the character, right? So it's like raining cats and dogs. And there we go. After that I just multiplied it on the ground, and I wanted to avoid the situation where the legs are colliding with it, so it will be just on the ground. And this is pretty much it. MaoMao animation, there we go. I hope you like this video, and well, you can have the work file on my Patreon if you want to have it. And well, like this video if you like it, share it. You can always subscribe. I don't know what I'm talking about it, but yeah, you do you. If you want me to create that like a cape tutorial, I can do it obviously, but I think it's self-explanatory. There will be more videos like this. Leave a comment and have a wonderful day. Cheers!